Starting a unit in stained glass. Okay, so stop and look up here. So basically what we're going to be doing is cutting glass. And I'm going to show you how to cut glass, okay, right now, because in order to design the project that you're going to make, you're going to have to understand how can you cut glass, what kind of shapes can you cut, and what kind of shapes can't you cut, okay? So if you take a look here, it's kind of like this. It's kind of a misnomer to say you're cutting glass. You're really not cutting glass. What you're doing is you're scratching the glass and then you're breaking it along that thing that you scratch, okay? So what we have here with the glass cutter, we've got a couple different glass cutters and they look like this. Here's one, okay, and then here's another one, okay? They both do the same thing, they just have a slightly different look to them. Now, if you look up close here, you're gonna see there's a tiny little wheel right here. It's kind of like a miniature pizza cutter, okay? And there's a little wheel right here on this one. That's gonna score a line or scratch a line in your glass, okay? And then you're gonna break the glass along that line. Now I happen to find one glass cutter here that little wheel is missing. This is no good, it doesn't work, okay? So what I'm gonna do is this. I'm gonna take my glass cutter and I'm going to just score a line. I'm going to take, when I do this, I have to stand up. I know you can't see it in the video, but I'm standing up right now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, and I'm going to scratch a line straight across this glass like this. Okay, and you're going to hear a little, it's kind of hard to see, it's clear glass, but you can see this little line. See it there? So the line, it's kind of like a little white little scratch. Okay? Now, how that works now is this. If I tap that line with this little ball right here, what that does is that increases the crack. It's like there's already a little crack, and when I tap it a little bit more, the crack gets deeper and deeper, okay? Now you're gonna see if I'm gonna lay this on the edge of the table, except that you can't see it on this video because I won't be able to do it, but basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put it on the edge of the table and bend it over the table. So just let me get a piece of wood here really quick. Let's take this. So let's just pretend that this box is the edge of your table. You're gonna lay your glass over the table, and then what you're gonna do is just tip it down like that, and the glass breaks off, okay? So basically, cutting glass is scoring a line in it and then breaking it on that line, okay? Now, a straight line is always the easiest. Now this isn't glass, but it's the same demonstration. If I would score the glass now straight across here, okay, and then I want to bend this, boom, it would bend perfectly on that line. Got that? Now, let's say that I score the glass, but I have a bend that's a slight curve. Like this, and I bend it, it's gonna bend on that slight curve as well. Got that? But, let's say that I have a curve that's not a slight curve, it's a really dramatic curve. Matter of fact, I'm going to draw it on here with a red. So let's say my curve is like this. Okay, that's a really dramatic curve. So I take my glass cutter and I cut on that line. Now if I try bending this, pretend this is a piece of glass. I try to bend it, and what's going to happen? That glass is going to start to bend. You know what I mean? And it'll eventually break. But the problem is my glass isn't flexible like this piece of paper here, okay? So if I have a really big curve and I try bending it, this glass is gonna break in all bunch of different pieces. Do you understand? So cutting a straight line is easy. Cutting a slight curve is a little more difficult, but cutting a really big curve, you can't do it, okay? Now, you might see stained glass, like for example, and you might see this one and say, well, here's a piece of stained glass that has a circle. How did you do that? I thought you couldn't make a big curve. What you would do is this. So let's just say that this is my piece of stained glass. So what I do is I have a paper pattern and I trace that circle on here. So let's say the circle is right here, okay? So the first thing I would do to cut this glass out is I would put a line right here, straight across, right there, and that would break the stained glass. Boom, like that. So I break that, I'm just gonna tear it off, okay? Then I'd go like this, and I'd break it again right here. Boom, right there, boom, break it. Now I've got this smaller piece, okay? Now I can do slight curves. So I can go like here, and I could break a slight curve like that, and break it, boom. Now, when the curves are really small like this, pieces like this, it's hard to hold the glass and break it. Like normally I'd break it over the edge of the table, but I really can't. I gotta break this tiny little piece. So that's where we have a tool that looks like this. It's this little tool that you would grab the glass and you would bend it like that, and you'd break that little piece off. So if I was making a circle, what I would do is first cut into a square, then I'd make these little cuts like this around my circle. They can be slight curves like that. Boom, that comes off. Now eventually, you're gonna get this pretty close to being a circle, but the circle is gonna be pretty bent up. It's not gonna be a very good circle. It's pretty jagged looking, right? So then we have what's called a grinder. It's a glass grinder. I don't have them out right now. But basically, it's this little grinding wheel that spins. And it looks like this. It's a little grinding wheel like this. And what I do is I bring it up to the grinding wheel and I turn this and I smooth out the edges. Do you understand? So the basics of stained glass is this. You can cut out straight pieces. Like if you look at this one, all these square pieces, really simple. Okay? The round piece takes more time, like this one would take. Okay? Now, there's some shapes that you cannot cut out. All right? And I'm going to show you what those shapes look like. So, for example, let's say that I wanted a piece of glass that looked like this. It was like a square, and then it had a 90-degree angle cut out of it. Okay? You can't do this. Impossible. You can't break a 90-degree angle out of a piece of glass. Okay? So, what we have to do in that case, okay, is we have to use two pieces of glass for that. So let's say I wanted this piece to be red, okay? What I would have to do is have a break here as well. Do you understand? And I'd put my two red pieces together, but there'd be a line going through them. Do you understand? Okay, let me show you some big pieces of stained glass right now. These are some ones that we made quite a few years ago. And here's it's kind of dark in here. Let's grab this one. So here is a big piece of stained glass right now. And this is a project that we made as a class. And basically, if you look here, there's some pieces that we made. Like here's a long curved piece that we made for the beak. But we couldn't have that beak just jutting down into this white glass. So there's a split right here. So this piece of glass is split into two pieces. You guys follow me there? Okay? This piece of glass here is a big round piece. Now this was very difficult to make. You can take a curve out of a piece, but it's very difficult. Okay? So this piece had to be made into two different pieces. Okay? This piece right here is extremely difficult to make. Basically what we do is we cut out this round piece, then we take the grinder and we grind this round area out right here. Okay? You can't break that area out, but you could grind that area out. Does that make sense? Okay. So keeping in mind, when you're doing stained glass, like if you look in this area, I couldn't have like this little tree or whatever this is just jutting up into this piece of glass. So there has to be a line here breaking this off so I can have a piece of glass there and a piece of glass there. Follow me? So stained glass, you can make straight shapes. Those are easy. If I look at this one, it's like mountains. You notice every shape is basically done with straight lines. Now there are some curved pieces out here. There are slight curves. But I could not make a piece that curved all the way around like this. It has to be made into several different pieces. Got that? Here's a design here that somebody made. And you can see the triangles were easy. The half circle was easy. And then in between the triangles are these little like pizza pie shapes. Okay? Here's another one that a student made right here. And that is got, you can see these large squares. But like this dripped piece right here, that you can't make. So this dripped piece was made out of a piece right there and a piece there. And there's a little bar, a little separation between those two pieces. You guys follow me so far? okay? So I just want you to know the basics of